Okay. get it started so we don't sit here trying to figure this out. Forget that we have a stream started. I am trying to. Restarting? Or what are you doing? End task. Okay, there we go, installed. Hey, important guy, how's it going? How is it going? Okay, start this time. There we go. Good sky. Yep, that's the one. Trying to get Docker up and started. My machine locked up yesterday and I had to restart it. And I forgot that I hadn't started Docker when I started the stream. Using GitHub services. Oh, just start the services for me. My flu isn't anywhere near as bad as it was last week, so that's good. That is very good. Sorry to sorry you were sick. So that ruins productivity. You get a pass on not coding while you're when you've got flu. Okay. Okay, so there's the application. Okay. Update Solid. Yeah, not Solid. Plugins. Need to remove Nuxt because I'm sick of seeing that error. Disable. There you go. Apply. Okay. Okay, so yesterday we got the endpoint updated for planning items to be able to put the status in there. Morning, Mullen. How are things today? Oh, man. I'll be honest, this morning is one of the mornings where it would have been very easy just to say, I'm not going to stream and I'm going to sit and play Gran Turismo. Um, you have one of those days where things, or a couple of those days where things just don't go right. Things just keep not working. And I mean, not just code, but you don't seem to be making progress. It's a pretty slow start for me as well. Yeah. How did you do the drive yesterday? That was yesterday that you were going to do that, right? Oh dear. Nice. That's cool. It's very cool. Oh dear. I So Sony announced their next version of the PlayStation yesterday, and it was very disappointing. Um, Mainly because they want $700 for it, when it's an incremental change to the PS5. Um, and it made me realize that my games collection, or my computing collection in general, kind of stops at the PS5 because I'm not going to spend $700 on a console I will barely ever use, um, for what it's intended for. I still don't have a 4K TV, so I'm not even getting the most out of the PS5 as is. Um, this last week I played it more than I've played it in the last year because I've decided that I need to take time and step away from this, and make sure I do take that time. So I've got my racing wheel set up behind me, and we'll do some streams around those, once I feel like I'm not a complete potato at driving on it. But um, yeah, it's just not $700 is just not worth it. If there's some places you want to visit, trails and picnic sites, that's cool that to go out and do that. Speaking to a colleague yesterday, and he lives in Boulder, and he said he was going to take his partner and on a nice picnic, and it just sounds great. In New Jersey, I don't know of anywhere I would take my wife to go on a picnic or something like that. And the beach doesn't count because I don't like the beach, especially not now. It's getting cold, but yeah, but, yeah. PS5 Pro, bit of a disappointment. Not it doesn't even come with a Blu-ray drive. You've got to spend another $70 to get an add-on Blu-ray drive. Um, if you want to, it takes the PS5 Slim Blu-ray add-on. Uh, yeah, I mean, I kind of realized when the PS4 and the Xbox 360 were coming around, and the amount of downloads we're having to do for games. Um, Building a PC at this point would be better bang for buck. But it's not. For me, it's not just about bang for buck. You can't get people. I've had this argument several times with people that on consoles. So consoles might have older PC hardware, but they are optimized. The games are optimized for that hardware. They're highly tuned for that hardware, so they can get a lot more out of the same level hardware. So you can't just say, "Oh, well, just drop a 7700 XT into a PC and you've got PS5." It doesn't work that way because of all the abstraction layers on top with Windows, with all the hardware abstractions, etc. Games developers have limitations there, whereas with consoles, things can be tuned for the console. So that's how the best games look good on the consoles. Um, there's something about having a console. It's a much more convenient setup. Um, Now, if Sony offered the PlayStation operating system, and I was able to lay that on top of some hardware and play games, that'd be awesome. I'd set up a PC in my living room. Yeah, console games come with that, and to me, the physical aspect of it, like being able to look at, it's not quite as impressive as a really awesome looking library, um, of books, but to walk into my room and be able to see all the games on the shelves, one day be able to see the consoles laid out properly, um, is something I want to get to. Um, right now, the consoles have to live in boxes, and when I want to play one, I have to pull it out and set it up. So that's why I don't play as many, because I just don't have the space to have them all set up. But my ultimate goal would be to have cabinets with the consoles in that I can display and just play them when I want. But yeah, the PS5, the second one in Dota. Sorry, um, I'm extremely tired. And I chose not to get coffee this morning, which I don't know why. That was not the smartest of moves. So we are streaming sans coffee, sans breakfast. So we'll see how this goes. I had a breakfast yesterday. I ordered some breakfast after stream, and I ordered French toast, which I'm not technically meant to have, but I was like, the day was okay, so I was like, okay, I'll order some French toast. And it arrived, and it was basically it was so eggy, it was an omelette. Like, this is not nice. Like, French toast should be fluffy on the inside and flavorful, not basically an omelette. Yes, that was most disappointing. Okay, I get on with some coding and stop sharing unnecessary details. Just realized I don't know how to make French toast. French toast is pretty simple. It's an egg, milk, and like cinnamon wash, and you dunk like you get good bread like a brioche loaf, and that's it. You kind of soak it in it for a second so it gets takes on the flavor of the cinnamon stuff, and then put it in a pan and fry it. But it's a simple concept, but oftentimes the bread gets left in the mix too long, and you end up with most of the egg soaking up into there. So you end up with an omelette. Yeah. You either don't end you end up with an not putting the bread in. You've got to let the bread go in long enough, and you've got to use decent enough bread, thick enough bread that it doesn't just soak in. So Torres166, thank you very much for the follow. We're talking about French toast. Um, welcome in. Okay. So today we're going to work on. We'll start with the UI because it's it's the nice part, and we will build on top of that. The database and everything should be started. Yeah, everything's up and running. Let's go and start Angular app. What day is it? Oh, it's on Wednesday. Like Monday too. Okay. So let's get the app up and running. Why? Why are you not starting everything? Their view is meant to start multiple things. There you go. It's healthier. There you go. It's loaded. There you go. Okay. App up and running. So Bearview is the GraphQL API and the gateway. That's the bare minimum necessary to get the app into read-only mode, because it can now access the database, pull its data from view, etc. So what we're going to do today is we're going to add a drop down in here for status, and that will allow us to and we're going to hard code the list of values, and then we'll move to the next piece. So we will go to, and I pointed this as a 1 point story. So I feel this is way less difficult than adding all those pieces of code. So we'll see if this takes me the entire stream. I'm wrong. If this takes me 20 minutes, I'm pretty much right on my estimation of effort. All I've got to do is remember how my application was first. Forms, add planning item. No, we've got to do some organization in here because I've flip-flopped on how I want to lay things out and structure things. So the planning item detail is here, right? But I don't think it's wise to create the status as a drop down in here, and have it hard coded in here. So what we'll do is we'll create a component. And right now it's all planning related, so there's no database or anything to pull from. Sorry. So we'll create a new component. If you are new to the stream, if you have any questions, thoughts, opinions of what I'm doing, you're more than welcome to share or ask. This is a large project, so the bigger it gets, the more I'm hoping that people will be able to ask questions rather than me divert and try and demonstrate it every 5 minutes, because it will it will not go well. So we're going to add a status drop down. Status select, skip tests. And I started to think about this the other day with the game stuff. Everything's like app. I probably don't want, this is a control. I don't want this to be like an app component. So I'm starting to think about how to use prefixes properly, prefixes, however we want to say it. I suppose I'm at that point where my British brain doesn't take over and on how I pronounce things, because I would say prefix. So I'm gonna preface this prefix. I'm driving myself crazy. With ls, and that way we can add in here ls status select. There's that whole molecular design thing. Yet again, just so much more stuff to look at. So we're going to create a div here, label for, this is going to be interesting, status, ls, status select. Oh, no. Don't do that. Atoms, molecules, something else that maps to buttons here or component page, that sort of thing. Yeah, breaking it down is, again, the entire client-side design thing is something that is... It's a way of thinking about it. That's the challenge. Right, that can't go there because now it's not a standalone component. That goes here, so that my module knows about it, I believe. ID equals status. That should now work. And then we should be able to go to... I'm gonna bring up PrimeNG and stuff onto the screen so I don't A, it starts in light mode, and B, so I just don't flip back and forth between two things, because I know that I do that a lot and I try not to. But so this would be a drop down. Yeah. So in here, I'm gonna do this. Options. Read only options equals. How do they do? Yeah. Nice. Did that just try and impressive? Um, that's pretty impressive. Not what I want, but it is close. So this is going to be options. Um, Probably want this to be a form, to be honest. Selected is a I get how they're doing this. Yeah, I think client side development is its own discipline. It's its own art form. Um, I don't think I'll ever be very good at it, but it's something that I would like to definitely get better at. No, no, I didn't start Blitz. We're going to use a reactive form group template. It's not. There's a drop down. We don't need virtual scroll. Don't need clear. Should default. That's the problem. Okay, so let's do this. Models. Status. Component. No. Just do new TS file. Status.ts. Status. Export interface. Status. Label value. Status. Yeah. So this is going to be. That's not correct either, because I want to use reactive forms. I've got to remember how. So I'm using reactive forms. This is going to be a component of a form. So this has to behave like a component of a form. So there's some extra behaviors that come with this, which I've got to refresh my memory on. And I've left the controls in place so I can do that. What I'm looking for here is can't bind to options since it isn't a no property of p drop down. Import angle entity, prime ng drop down. Options, select a status. There shouldn't be a placeholder there. That's the challenge there. Okay, that's rebuilt. Okay. Oh, there we go. It was just taking a sweet time to rebuild the page. What I'm going for is status of planning items. We labeled them there. So this is going to be our status, empty, 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 empty. Okay. So we have preparing, ready for planning, in progress, completed. So we have preparing. This will be the value sent up and stored in our database. Ready for planning. In progress. And completed. So if we change any one of them things, this is going to break. Okay. So I can't just make this a reactive form component because it's not part of the form, right? This is a component that can be part of, well, should be part of a form, but I might use it in different places. So what I did is components, selects, user select. This is this is what's involved in making it a component that is part of a form. So we need forms module. Oh, that's standalone, so that's not a problem. Okay, so we need, let's drag this off the screen so I can see it at the same time. We need a provider. That's going to be that. And this is going to oh, we don't need any. Yeah. Let's not put stuff in we don't actually need. Okay, so this is going to complain because it doesn't implement those values. Okay. Right value, register on change, registered. So that's those components. Can I do status there? And then this dot selected equals obj. Then we need I believe that's what I need. That binds the change event up so that when this changes, the form control changes. So we need to do option label is label. Preparing, ready for planning, in progress, completed. Okay, it should default to that, so yeah. Just to make sure it doesn't default to that. And and it's the same instance. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, it makes sense. I'm just not setting the value. I'm not defining the value. Okay, so we need on change. That's not how that works. No, that's not how that works. Select status. I need to invoke that method. I can't. That's not. Oh, hold on. Can I? No, because it's a drop down changed event. I don't want to send a drop down changed event. I want to send. What I'm trying to do here is send this dot on change, and then we do event dot. Now event dot value will be. Let's see. So we need option label. Option value equals value. Right. We're going to leave these alone right now. So this is kind of a placeholder so that there's always an event there. And then when it registers the on change, it replaces that function. So at the very worst, we call it and nothing happens. So on the planning item detail here, we need to go to oh yeah, this is getting messy. So public. So this is our status. Form control equals new form control string, because the value we're going to get back is going to be a string. Or it can't be null. Pairing. Update on change. Let's see what happens there. Then we go over here, and this is going to be form control stats. We do need to go back there, by the way. Add that to the form group. Reset that. There you go. Status equals this. That status needs to be part of the form group overall. Okay. Okay. Um, Use a select component. Camera's dead. Oh yeah, it is. Thanks, Lindell. XSplit. Is that the software or the camera itself? That's the yeah. To be honest, I don't blame it. Oh, it's back. How's it back? I didn't do anything. I just accidentally ran the startup software, so it clearly started. I have no idea. Oh, I have no idea. No, it's a Panasonic through um, an Elgato Cam Link. No, it should be fine. I don't know. Yeah, it's a Cam Link out of a Panasonic Lumix G7, I think. Yeah, yeah. When I started streaming again, I decided to just get and especially once I decided to get the prompter, it's like I just get a decent camera and do it that way. I think the camera came before the prompter. Yes, the camera came before the prompter, but yeah, it was an easy choice. Because at some point, I do want to make videos. Oh, ads are running. Showing the camera that mini HDMI is total connector. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I don't like that. Especially in this stream. I keep the language. Yeah. Okay. I get it. I get it. Da, da, da. I don't know if it's worth streaming to YouTube. Viewership has fallen completely away on YouTube, so there's barely anybody jumps in anymore. Um, Either it's discoverability or just the content is just not what people are looking for on YouTube. But I found there's some really active communities. So Gran Turismo, there's barely any community for it on Twitch, but on YouTube, there's thousands of people watching streams with races on YouTube. Um, it's weird, and the discoverability is just as bad. Like, should I spend 20 hours building custom software for the prompter, or just bite the bullet and get an Elgato? Well, having got the Elgato, I can say that it is definitely a great little thing to have, because even when you're not using it as a prompter, it works as a good screen because it's nice and clear. So I got the camera up in the shroud behind it, and yeah, it is really good, and it's really dusty right now. It's a bit small though. Well, fair enough. if you need the size, like for me, it's a perfect size because it fits on the arm right where my key light's up there. I only have one key light, and then it fits right there on the monitor, on top of the monitor, and doesn't take up too much space. I'd say it's worse than YouTube. I don't think I've ever seen a live video link on the front page. I have two kids. Yeah. YouTube discoverability is just not where it needs to be. Wiki like one highlight, like yeah, I'm not that worried about like I don't go full screen. Um, I'm a little character in a corner, so I'm not panicked about the light quality. It's good enough. Um, but yeah, yeah. Back on the YouTube thing, I'm going to continue streaming to YouTube because then the VODs are there, right? But um, but barely anybody's watching ever on YouTube right now live. Maybe the number jumps up to like 20 or 25 views after stream. But it's just not. I don't know. Is it? I'm just asking myself, is it worth um, the extra effort? I mean, it's not. It's not difficult, but yeah. Yesterday's stream, 20 views, one like. So someone. I mean, I know that. I think it's Sally does watch the video, the VODs. Um, there's definite days where it spikes a little bit, but eh, every day gets into the double digits. Going back to 30 days ago. Yeah. I think what I need to do is make more actual videos, make more video content, and that'll boost the stream up a little bit there. Because I've been stuck on like 332 subs for weeks. I think that's me. But yeah. Yeah, considering I don't want to edit the videos, um, uploading them afterwards, downloading them and uploading them seems wasteful when I can stream the same content and it records. And it can, if I want to put the slight delay on the YouTube stream, um, I can um, I can up the quality. So although the hard part is remembering to go in and actually set the title. Oh, not the title. Well, the title, yes, but remembering to set the category every time is one of my challenges. Okay, so let's get this. I think I did. Let's do that. Do. Hello, doggo. You okay? You had first nap. It's a hard life. I know. Okay, so there's no input style on that one. Let's have a look. Yeah, I know there's an export button. Yeah, I use that a lot originally. There we go. That was a little healthier. That looks more in line now, right? Um, so we can clearly see that on um, yeah, I think in general, what I'd like to do is figure out making more content, just make some actual specific videos. I just don't know what on because everything I cover on stream is pretty involved. Uh, so I'm like, what would I actually make the content on that's not just, I don't want to make clickbait. I don't want to make hot takes. I've no desire to just do something for the sake of getting views. I want to make it constructive. I want to make it productive. So, okay, so select status. That is firing, right? So validate that. Yes, that is firing. And that is event.value is ready for planning. Yeah. So that is firing. So then that is because that is not actually on blur. There you go. Wow, Couchbase plugin crashing. That's awesome. As we're not using Couchbase, I think we can disable that safely right a second. Okay, so let's go here. Okay, method not implemented, status select component. Oh, set disabled state. It was throwing an exception because it's trying to probably lock the form. No. We do have a whole lot more here that we need to do. Also got to figure out how to specify this is required. Again, like here, I used the multi-select, and that is I wonder if that's. No, there's no star class on this component because it's this component. Yeah. I'm an intern right now working with .NET while studying. Should I be concerned about AI putting me out of a job? Hey, Sally, how you doing? No, you shouldn't be concerned about AI. I I don't think AI is a job replacer. I think AI stuff is a job enhancer. Um, I feel like there's so more to it. Meetings, aligning expectations, setting things up, requirements, etc. You mean so much more to it than software development? Oh yeah, yeah. Um, actually, it's a function, so we're going to do the same thing: protected, untouched, any any equals this to untouched equals FN. Just so there's no throw exceptions in there. I need to delete Twitter, man. It's basically just a huge AI hype train where everyone is saying we're all doomed. I haven't looked at that platform in 3 or 4 months now. I just don't bother. It signed me out at one point, and I'm like, yeah, I'm done. I never posted on it. It's not useful. It's stopped being useful as a promotion tool to me. Mainly because I don't bother with the promotion at all. But yeah, it's not worth it. What was that I used before? Playing out detail, star class. Was that one? That is the thing. Yeah. I want to be consistent between those things. Yeah, software development in a business environment is not just about the coding, uh, but organizations also continue to fail at using the time effectively. Creating meetings where there doesn't need to be meetings creates resentment, which means that people aren't engaged in meetings, so you can end up with a vicious cycle. And pulling developers into unnecessary meetings again stops them doing what they're doing or distracts them because a lot of people can't appreciate the focus. Like one of the work from home benefits is the fact that no one can just come over and disturb me, although my wife and daughter. But you can't just have someone pop over to your desk and say, "Hey, how are we on that thing?" or whatever. So you do have a little bit more isolation because people aren't as uh, keen to just drop a call on you and you can ignore a text message in Slack or Teams or whatever. Uh, yeah, there's a whole lot more to software development than yeah. I think I brought this up a couple of weeks ago. There's a stat somewhere that basically diverting from a task basically derails your brain for way more time than that task than the discussion took or whatever. So focus context switching constantly is bad for your development. Uh, well, not quite because the aim of the stream is to be that way, right? But yes, it could be. If I was sat focusing on the code, yeah, that would it can divert. Morning defaults. How you doing? Why aren't you changing anything? Are you erroring still? Why won't you just work? Must supply value for form control with name status. Must supply a value for form control. I've lost my underneath my desk. I can't stretch my legs out. Awesome. So we could do must supply a value. Is that one of control option value? So that should be. Oh, it's not. But I set preparing. Where is the planning item detail component? Oh, it's this. It's the load. Status is this the item dot status. For right now, uh, that's not a property. So let's just do, for right now, let's just do preparing as the default status. Let's see if that works. So when we bring up this, doesn't break, but it doesn't work. Doesn't break, but it doesn't work. That's not the greatest name for that status either, because this is planning. So that is actually, so what that's meant to represent is it's ready for the next step, right? It's ready for changing to become an actual set of stories. It's more like ready for discussion or ready for let's leave it ready for planning for now. Understand that it means basically that's okay. We've got the stuff together. We've got the requirements set. We need to now start to actually plan the stories. So that's that next step. Yeah, move it to in progress, and then we can move to complete. Okay. So we need to figure out why it is not working there. Why it is not working. Like I don't mind. I understand it's not going to post yet. There's no wire up there to the post endpoint. That's fine. But that is the component of it, but it's not. So we set preparing. Let's validate that we actually set that value though. Let's do a debugger here. So then when we go to here, do we hit our debugger? Yes, we do. And we send in preparing. Okay, so selected. Selected is a status though. That's why. So we've got two options there. We bind, I think, well, actually, I don't think we have two options. I think what we do is this dot options dot filter option goes to option dot value equals option. No, it's not. That's why. That's a string. There's a way of selecting one item. I can't remember what it is. Nope. So object string this dot options dot filter f goes to f dot value equals option. Yeah. We do 0 pairing. But you're not selecting. Let's go back to the documentation. Form control. So again, I'm not using form control, so I suppose that I'm using kind of a mix of the two, because then I'm saying that is selected. Nope. So we know that it's triggering this. It's not doing that. Selected status, this option 0. That's pretty much as it is. No, it's not editable. So at that point, because this is value.value. Actually, here's how to test this. So we go here and we do stats, right? That will display dot so it says preparing. It's not toggling. Okay. That's okay. Form control is status. Let's go here. Debugger. Okay, so we get there, and then event.value.value. Event.value. Oh no, event.value is correct. So why it lets me do that, I don't know, but hey Hexic, how you doing? So we change that, preparing. So it's still not changing the backing property. So that's part of the problem there. So I'd use the select. I mean, that's essentially the same thing. Oh, hold on. It's not quite the same thing, is it? Because I'm not actually doing. I'm not doing. Oh, it might be this that's binding because selected. Oh, but right value is setting that value. This is going to trigger it. I mean, I'm not setting it regardless. When I do this event, let's actually validate that's the right event. Accessibility. Show clear. So because they offer the ability to do because they offer the ability to do the drop down as a reactive form control in its current state. They're not showing me this part, right? So I got to figure this out. How's it going here? It's going okay. I'm stuck on a little bit of angular nonsense, or well, it's not nonsense. It's quite right. Um, so yeah, I'm combining two different techniques here. Um, so to do this, this is the same thing, right? It's essentially this where this is event.value, right? Let's just make sure that's not going to do anything. So status. Oh no, we're working. It's all interesting. Not in progress. That's quite interesting. Console info event. Let's bring up that over there. Yeah, it's logging the event. It's just now that code is overriding it, so that's not necessary. So the idea of the on change is it should fire. This is default, then we override it. So we should actually see it get in here when the page loads, because the control that yeah. So that got in there, and that is FN is being sent from the form being registered. So we have an on change. Right. So that's why in here, I would prefer that to be change. Validators, this is required, so I've got to make sure set that. Okay, so question number one is why is it not why is it not letting me set the status? Because everything's saying that it should be preparing, which means that it should have selected preparing. Yes, I am creating a control, wrapping a control that already supports the feature I'm looking for, but I don't want to have this list managed inside of this component, right? So, or inside of this view. So to me, it makes sense to make a component to do it. However, I'm suffering because of that. So that is not that. But that's the way their NG model code does it. I think that's what I've got to do. Sorry. So let's make it. That's exactly as that is. And that is exactly as that is. Oh, ready for planning, in progress, completed. Right. Okay, we have progress. Still not doing everything, but it is better. Okay, so we do have that changing. So the difference there is now I'm not setting it. Okay. So we click on that, but it still doesn't show preparing. That's annoying. So this piece probably isn't working the way I want it to do then, right? Let's selected equals this. My bet is it's going to work though. Writing code for the sake of writing code there. Oh, look, it worked. It knows that it's set to preparing, so it's just not updating here. But the annoying thing is that that model, that's a bidirectional model bind, so that should update it. Because it's setting it to this entry. It's not setting it to the string. It's using the string to determine it. And that's going to break anyway. JavaScript. How do I get one component in a filter? Find. There you go. It's a little bit more accurate. Either way, that's not there though. So let's put out selected pipe to JSON. So now we're going to put out what this thinks its value is. That's annoying. Oh, that's not ideal, is it? That's really weird, actually. So it's an object to start with, but then becomes a string. Huh. That documentation was leading me astray. We're getting there. We're getting there. What did I say? If this took me more than like 20 minutes, I'd be wrong on the 1 point. So in terms of estimation, yesterday's story, which took me the entire stream, I estimated to be a 3, right? So in terms of the things I needed to do, etc., I determined this to be a 1, which is a magnitude, several magnitudes less complexity. This has taken me almost as long. So we're talking about pointing, understanding what it is you need to do is a big part of being able to effectively point, is the point. So this was not a 1. If that other one was a 3, genuinely. Because this is taking me just as long. Now, again, allowing for the skill. Yeah. But in terms of being that I'm the only developer, my measure should have been this is a 3, that was a 3. Why is this a 3? Because there's a lot of pieces on the UI I need to build, and I don't know what I need to do and how it's going to work. So this is just a prime example of why you can't just say, well, a 3 is an hour or a 1 is 20 minutes, right? Okay, so we have it selecting. Go to another planning item. That should go to preparing. Yeah. It best do. It'll best default to preparing because there's no other value right now. Now, when we change this, we want to see the green box appear. Although it could be erroring because it is actually trying to update. Yes. So the green box isn't appearing because it has actually updated because it's, yeah. Okay, so we can just do that, and then that. Their example is wrong. Or, I mean, their example works for them, but that doesn't work for me. Um, and for reference, that is that. Okay, done, finished. So I've got to remember to promote this more. On the 27th of September, I have a day off work. I am going to do a longer stream. It is going to be a community day stream. It will have the opportunity to drop in the Discord if you want to. Normal rules apply. Language, uh, you know, talking about software development, talking about things we want to talk about there. That day I am celebrating my actual 25 years as a professional software developer. So I figured I'd do a stream that day. So we'll make it a community day, and it's a Friday, which means double community day because one line's stream also has community days on Fridays, which is another great place to hang out. Commemorating, not commiserating. Commemorating. Okay, well, commemorate. Thank you. Okay, I can keep clicking that, but the magic is not going to happen because I haven't actually done anything here. So what's happening there is it's actually trying to fire this piece now, and this piece doesn't have everything it needs now, and also the back end isn't hooked up, so that's going to cause a problem. So we need to do status is this dot status dot value. That's going to break because this store needs more information there, so we need to go to the planning item store with the right method, and this is going to be needed to do, we need the status on here now, which is a string. So the idea is it's going to store that lowercase value back and forth. When it gets to the client, it'll interpret it. Okay, so we now have status on here, so we send update planning item. Update planning item will then call the planning item update service with the planning item, and it passes through everything else. So now here we have to do status equals planning item dot status. I'm using the planning item as a DTO there. There's only certain fields that get updated from there. Probably not ideal, but we'll figure that out afterwards. We track the updated, we update the store. Commiserate has more to do with being a solidarity usually regarding a negative situation that you're showing in the, oh, here's the definition for commiserate since I can't word at the moment. Express or feel sympathy or pity, sympathize. Yeah, I don't feel pity. Yeah. It just feels so reflecting, right? It feels, it doesn't feel like yesterday that I started doing this. I mean, obviously it's yesterday, but 25 years. When I was beginning as a software developer, the person I was working for was in his 40s. He was probably as old as I am now. He had been a developer for decades at that point. And it seemed like such a long way away. And some of the things he did, I was like, I'm never doing that. And I found myself doing them as I get older, and I change up the way I think about things. And yeah, oh, it's scary. Okay, so we have that, we have that, we have that. So what we need to do now is make sure this is all running. No, we do not need to hit that again. We need to do full stack. We need to cancel them. Otherwise, yes. So by virtue of in here I said update the store for planning item, update service to post update, right? We've just done those two things. Those are very simple things. The store didn't actually need to change very much because the store will store this object. The view, when it loads back out, it will pull this. So right now that status is going to be wrong when it here, right? So this dot item dot status is now valid here, kind of. It's going to be null, which is going to trip up the UI because then we need to do the other stories. We'll just wait for this to load up. Okay. We are running. So we have the application full stack up and running. So now what I want to see is when this loads in. If I go here, multiply value for form control. So here's the challenge there. That is null. I do not want to provide this to be so. Setting that to say that can be null is incorrect. It is a lie and it is not something that I want to support because it should be set. This is null because this form control, when it loads it, does not have the value status does not exist on the planning item yet. That is another story. So if I was working on these stories independently, right, I couldn't work on the two UI stories because I've already said that UI story 3 and 3B, displaying it and viewing it are the same thing. But I don't have this yet. Because, I mean, technically, well, this isn't 3B. This is kind of 2B. Story number 2.b. 2B. Right. This really lives there. It's a display concern. But I don't have that data yet, which is challenging. So I can't do this component because this piece doesn't exist. But I can't test this component without writing code that is going to be hacky, because I'm going to have to allow for something. So the point I'm making is, and it's not an answer, I know what I'm going to do. I have to make a decision on where I'm going to put the piece that's going to allow it to work. Oh no. Did I forget? Please tell me it's going up the street. Oh man. My wife's gonna kill me. I went out this morning. I saw that recycle cans were out. My wife called me. She goes, "Don't forget it's recycle day." I was like, "Yes, I know. I've been out. I saw the cans." I then got distracted and didn't put the recycle can out. And the truck normally goes up, so I hear it, and then I run out and do it. And normally doesn't come until much later in the morning, but has come early this morning. So that's what you get for putting things off. Anyway, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a um, minor hack, which should allow that to go through. That at least makes this work, right? There we go. There's our green. Now, the question is, did we just update uh, status of planning items to be in progress? So what we do is we go to planning items. The last one should be in progress. There we go. And we've just validated 2 stories. Ready for planning. It does work on change. It's awesome. Ready for planning. There you go. Okay. So when I get this to actually work, when I get the read side, it's still, even though this is technically done, I need to remove this piece of code because this always has to be set. So it's a hack that I don't want to leave in place, because what that does is tells the story that, oh, by the way, this is nullable. And now we'll default it to preparing. And then we've got a hard-coded string here that doesn't pertain specifically to this piece. It pertains to a component that has this hard-coded list in it. And that doesn't feel right. So so with that said, we don't need that, right? Because we don't have status as a concept in here as a model. We don't have it in here as a model anymore. There's no such thing as status. It's just label and value on an object list, and that's good enough. So we should be able to go here, actually go to this one, changes to planning items, and this is ready for planning. And there we go. Hey Mojo, how you doing? Good morning. Okay. So we technically achieved story number 2 here. And again, even though I said it was a 1 and this was a 3, uh, they took almost the exact same amount of time. It's just a lesson in, I suppose, overconfidence, um, and assumptions that things would be simple. The implementation turned out to be much more difficult. Now, some of that would have been mitigated with, okay, well, it's a new drop down. Here's the expectation, right? So with time, that will probably be a 1 in terms of its difficulty. But it's a reason why before you point anything, before developers sit down and say, hey, we're going to put some point values on this, that they should go and look at the code. They shouldn't just assume they know what they're doing unless it's a very simple piece. They should go and validate that. I found out that I love test containers for integration testing. Test containers is cool. I only have a small example of them in some of this code. Very cool. Sleeping like a baby now that this integration was. I envy you. Sleeping. Okay. Let's get that committed. Let's stop this running. Oh, by the way, we should have also, if we go to our to our browser here and go and look at localhost 8080, we should actually see the planning items topic does contain a message and it has status on it, ready for planning. So we see there, ready for planning, in progress, no status there. So now our status message ended up playing satisfactory till 1 a.m. It's like we were watching Thindle stream yesterday. um, I last night I got home from karate and I'm like, I've just got a mod for my pedals um, for my G29. I'm like, I'll fit that and I'll have an hour of racing. It took me so long to fit. Ended up with tools all over my desk. I ended up with, I finally got it fitted and I'm like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to play anymore. So I went to bed. And this morning I got up and set it all up. So at least this afternoon, I can after work before karate, I can get in there and do some racing. BMW G20, no, Logitech G29 racing wheel and pedals. I got a mod for the brake to do a better brake mod. And it's I've been playing Gran Turismo, get into more gaming. And as soon as I can figure out how to organize my room to the point where I can get the PC hooked up and get the streaming working, I will stream some Gran Turismo and other PlayStation stuff. Okay, so what do we do here? Well, we added a stat select component, add component for selecting status for planning item. Got to remember to do those things. We updated the planning item detail. Updated planning item detail to include new component. Updated planning item to contain status property and modified planning items service to send status verified sent updated and published. Creation event. Yeah. In real life, if I drive a Focus ST, I do not drive anything more powerful. I'd probably get in more trouble if I did. I learned once I got the Focus that I do like going fast. I do like playing with the uh, the little sporty car, and anything more powerful would be a lot more fun. So I will live vicariously through Gran Turismo. I've had the wheel a couple of years. I just didn't have the space to set it up, and I just decided to get a chair sorted and play. Okay, so we can push that change to this branch. Again, I'm doing all this on one branch. Maybe I shouldn't be doing, but in reality, this is um, um, uh, this is a solo developer, right? I'm not competing with anyone. I'm not working on different components. These are back to back. Okay. Let's see if we can start this piece. So we validated that we get the stats coming through here, right? So now what do we need to do over on the view side of things to capture that? Being the right project would help. So the view has a receiver, and the receiver for planning item is here, right? This hasn't changed, except we probably now want to pass the stats down here. So we're not passing this event straight down. I don't think it would hurt to do that, but yeah. Um so in here we basically just add a planning item, or we check if it's updated and update it. That's dangerous. Why are we doing that? That should be over everything else. Can you do a custom stats, I wonder? What is success? Static result success. Oh no, we can't because it's a static. Can't extend a static like that. It is a result. What I'm wondering is if it's possible to send back a status that says no change. Explicitly says there's nothing to do. But either way, this is just trying to get rid of nesting, right? Let's just trying to do that. Okay. So we have tests. How many tests do we have concerning integration when updating projects? When a project exists. Oh, good. When updating project does not, when project does not exist, we validate that we create it. Otherwise, we validate nothing. Why has that not been found by something? Ah, because it's about this. Two things. when project exists and nothing changed, fact project is not updated. Right, we want to validate that. So that refactoring I just did of that code was bad because there's actually no test covering that code. So I could have introduced a bug there. I didn't, but I could have introduced a bug there that would have made a mess. So let's go and copy some of this in here. We need to inherit from arrange act. These are always update project, update thing, because there is no the receiver does not know the difference between a create and an update. The red dump is taken. Why? So this is not updated. So essentially, we're taking this and what we're doing is we don't care about the data. We care about the fact that this project specifically did not receive update async. It would be good enough for this test to say the repository did not receive update async at all, but we'll just validate that it is for not that project. So we arrange, we get the substitute for the sender, the project, we get the why is my update integration update planning item sender? Oh, acquire. I need it for acquire. So when project exists and nothing changes, so we need to do repository dot. Let's validate they're actually doing it that way because I've flip-flopped a little bit on this. I've taken to using first default since. Okay, we are doing first default. F goes to F. First default. Arg.any. That's essentially what I want to do. Planning item. Why can't you reference what? View application test. Why can't you reference this spec? Oh, I'm an idiot. Planning item, not project. Should have seen that. When a signed user is identified and is not null, and is created and is not null and is not created by a user. When a signed user identifier is null, when a signed user is same as created by user. What has that got to do? Oh, because I've tested the acquire cases. Okay, so regardless of my 5 minutes of complete I don't know what that was. Of not understanding that project was not a planning item, which I should know by now, right? Um, this is a planning item update, right? The same thing applies. I do need to do something similar. God, when updating planning item, when planning item, when it's possible that we receive the same event again. It's possible that we receive a duplicate for some reason. It is possible. Um, Either our processing failed and we just processed the same event, or there's an actual duplicate event created for the same data. We don't want to go through the effort of updating the database. We just don't want to do that. So this is making sure of that piece. Um, so when putting out with no changes. Tell you what, let's do this. I can I know it's bad. I can write these later. Let's get the structure in there. To forget about these tests now, considering I've identified the hole, would be bad. So I do need to do this. But the structure's in there. It's not like this is impossible. It's just time consuming and a lot of different pieces of code to write. And that's actually the problem with unit testing and why it often gets forgotten is because it takes time. When you can get on with something and you know you need to do something. I'm not trying to promote that, but in the same, I'm streaming this, and if I spend the next 20 minutes trying to get this all together, then it's just going to make a mess. So what we need to do, we need to capture the status, right? Okay, I got a time limit. We need to allow for the view to have the stats. Where did I put it in the planning item? So I want to make sure that they kind of line up. So stats was before review date. So I totally don't have them in the same order there. Status and Barcode 50. Because I have a lot of data and I'm not using these as migration scripts, I'm going to manually add that column over here anyway. Right? If you're using something like MySQL, you have the ability to reorder the columns. You can insert before or after a column, etc. In SQL Server, cannot do this. Not null. And because I've got values in there, I need to put a default value in there. There you go. We will do that. Yeah. Interesting formatting. Okay. On the view, we need stats. We need to pull it out. So when we actually pull the data, we actually get that. So we need to change that planning item and this planning item. That's complaining about memory rather than possible performance issues. Um, so that's that, that's that, that's that. Let's go and check over here. Context, configuration. There's nothing specific here and nothing specific here. So now that will be consumable. We need to go back to our update planning item and existing status equals command dot status. Oh dear, we don't have status yet, so we need to go over here. String status. That's going to break other code. We need to make sure we set it in here. Right. Has changed is also, it has to be contemplated there. Existing dot status not equal to command dot status. I'm not doing any case sensitive comparison or insensitive comparison there. It's a static value that I'm going to get from the client. It does mean that the way I've done this right now, it will achieve what the story is asking for. So as a PM, yay, I win. The feature is going to be implemented in a couple of days. That's awesome. Now, if I come along and decide I need to add another value to that, or I want to change one of those values, it makes a mess because now if I change, oh, well, we don't want it to say ready for planning. We want it to say ready for development. We need an extra status or whatever. This gets more messy because I can't just change that string because the database will have those values. So when it pulls down those values, I have now a conflict. So if and when I want to update that, I've essentially got to wipe out the data or write migration scripts to deal with that data. So moving it to a table from the beginning would have been the better idea, but that would have been overkill and wouldn't have achieved the feature because it might not happen, right? So that's a trap we all fall into is when do we when do we make the over engineering decision? Or is it an over engineering decision if you're thinking, well, it might do this? It might never happen. It might genuinely never happen. And then you're stuck with code that tells a story that's a lie. So, okay, these are all broken now because my call here. Expected status, private read only string. Do you know what I'm talking about? Yes, you do. It's both scary and fun. Um, so this is an instance where it definitely is advantageous to have those things. I prefer to think it in terms of most likely will, won't, as opposed to the negative version. That is, which is more likely that this baby does happen or that doesn't happen. With regard to overthinking this, or I mean, most likely will, won't is it's a matter of defensiveness and oftentimes triggered by developers who have had to handle lots of, oh well, now we want this, now we want this, and now we want this, and normally developers who've suffered through waterfall from what I've experienced so far are the ones most likely to have this issue. It sounded like the mindset you were recommending is saying might not happen, so don't do it, versus the scale of how likely it is to actually happen. Yeah, you can always validate it, or you can always justify. Well, if it does happen, I'll be ready for it. And in all likelihood, right now though, I can't think of another value there. The only thing that I can think of is ready for planning is the tripping point there. But when I put this in front of people and I say, hey, do you want to try this out and see how you feel about it? Their feedback could change that. So, and if at that point they're like, well, we need more values here, uh, we need to say this, we needed to say that, or it should say this, it should say that, then I'm gonna have to change it. So, but what I don't want to do is promote preparing for that potential too soon, and getting the actual feature in there so it can be seen. And that's my priority, right? Being willing to accept the refactoring later on. Um, you can always justify it that way, I agree, but when you evaluate it from a sober mindset, then you can truly see whether you would benefit in the long run by implementing it one way or another. Yeah, to be honest, the way I benefit the most from this is by creating a lookup table and having it stored in a database. Oh, ad break right near the end. I got to time them right. So yeah, yeah, it's oh, these got consumed a bit as well because the consumers were up and running. Yeah, zero lag, zero lag. Oh well, lag on that one. Notifications lag. That's okay because that's not running properly. Hmm. I know that these are all in my opinions, by the way. I love that's what I want to do with the stream though. That's why I stream is because my opinions are based upon my experience, and your opinions are based upon your experience, and they they all have validity, right? Um, the measure I was going for with this story was achieving being able to demonstrate the feature to understand to allow this to go forward and um, demonstrate the idea, demonstrate the concept without spending too much time engineering a more fine-grained solution that may or may not overcomplicate it and not at least now I have the structure in place for capturing that value. Where the actual values come from is another challenge now, right? So if it becomes a lookup list that's stored in the system, I have to decide where that's maintained, what it means. Am I building information off it? Am I doing things based upon, oh well, it's in this status, therefore we need to do this. There's all manner of options there, but yeah. Hi, S coding. How you doing? I'm interested in these points. I was thinking about this earlier due to work stuff. Yeah. So for right now, what this does, that'll break in the background right now, is allow me to represent the status as a field. I don't know how I'm going to use that or need that other than being able to say it's in this status right this second. And then later on, when I look at the behavior, I can understand that more. So it's just promoting this. I'm likely going to need something more, but I don't know what it is yet. Therefore, let's just do the bare minimum to get forward. I'm good. I'm good. I'm just tidying this up. Um, let's run that. Let's see what happens. Because in theory, because the way this is built now, notice I did not change anything to do with GraphQL. Right. All I did is add the column to the data store. I added the ability to update that value in the data store. and that's it. I'm just going to step away for 1 second. I'll be right back. Sorry about that. My breakfast arrived. I am lazy and ordered breakfast again. I actually have some meal stuff coming for next week, so I can actually not to be that lazy. Thinking more on this, the one thing I did want to add to that entire thing about, over preparing, over planning, etc., is it should be part of the discussion. But remember that if you're going to say to someone, if you're going to say to a product manager, would you like it to do this? They are more likely to lean towards the version that gets them the biggest ability to do what they could possibly like down the line. If they imagine some other use for it, or they imagine some different design for it, then they're more likely to say, yeah, that's what I want. But what you've got to do is also understand the impact and be able to measure that and say, look, here's what we could do, here's what we will do, here's what it will provide you now, and make sure that you're making an informed decision, because obviously it's an amount of work. To go and make this a lookup value would have been much more costly, because I'd have had to decide, am I hard coding it somewhere? You won't start barking. No, you're a good boy. Good boy. I have food, and he's trying to tell me that he knows I have food. Um, and that sharing is allowed. Um, so again, measuring the entire purpose of this piece is to be able to say, here's what I want, and have a discussion around it without it actually becoming defined work at this point. So having that talk, saying, well, we could do it this way, we could do it that way. There's this way, there's this way. Here's the pros, here's the cons. Again, to make this a more flexible system, at this point, I don't know where I need that. Do I need it over here in something like this? That actually running? Yeah, it's running. Why aren't you loading? Is the schema bad? Banana, big part. Low key. That's not going to work because of this. Low key, I know you're there. He sat behind me just low growling. Get planning items. Okay, so we have planning items. The one thing I wanted to show is I think now that I should just be able to use status there. Oh no, planning items, invalid column status. I didn't add it to the view. I didn't add it to the view. I added to the SQL, but I didn't. I added to the script, and added to the actual view itself. There you go. Status. But that shouldn't have affected. That did affect that. Interesting. Okay. So what I'm hoping for is if I change this to ready for planning, that should update. And that's preparing. That's ready for planning. That's in progress. That's ready for planning. That's in progress. Now it's in progress because the store says it's in progress. Right? Uh, See, they all say preparing. Oh, in progress. That one's marked as in progress. So that's basically as these go through, right? As the planning items come through and get processed into the view, in progress, ready for planning, these should change. Why isn't that one changing? That should change to ready for planning. Of all the stories, that's actually the one that's kind of, well, it's technically in progress. That's ready for planning. So, oh, I know why. No, no, I don't know why. I'm being a bit of a, that's a bit of a lie. This does have the stores services. This does need to have the stats, right? So the fetch all planning items. Again, there's a requirement to have status be. By the way, GraphQL doesn't require the comments. That's me. There you go. But that's not going to help the fact that it's not in the database. Ready for planning, in progress. There you go. So yeah, they are working. So we move forward. Changes to planning items. We are preparing this one. Actually, that's ready for planning. So we'll get to this tomorrow. We'll get to adding a status in here and talk about what that means to the UI and what's useful and what's not here. My instinct so far is that these are all valid columns, so the status will have to get added somewhere, and we'll have to figure out that. Grouping by is going to be a whole different challenge. But yeah, that's where that lies for now. That integration is firing because obviously this is happening, but it's just taking its time. So 2 minutes ago, ready for planning, in progress. Yeah, but there we go. So we do have a hey Napalm. The timing, as always, is impeccable. um, Need to find Ending. Spend enough time there. Okay. So today we have got working our status, right? So now when we go into a planning item, we can now set the status. So our the status of planning items story is still in progress because we do have some extra pieces here to do. But this one is actually in development. Essentially, we've developed the stories, or we will develop the stories, um, which we're ready for planning. Essentially, but we do have a status now to add on there. And again, this is another thing that when we get to the alerting, you'll be able to say, "Oh, I care when this planning item shifts from preparing to in progress, or ready for planning to in progress, etc." So we know when it's begun. When it moves to completed, right? Those are things that you'd want to know about. Like this item is marked as completed, therefore you probably want to go and check it out if you care about it. So it all ties in. But yeah, moving forward. So tomorrow we'll get round to finishing up this component. This is these stories are essentially completed. So this one I marked as a 3, and you saw that it took me less than 10 minutes to actually get working. Those pieces are done. So we updated GraphQL query, we updated the view to accommodate the status, we updated the database record, and we updated the view consumer to capture the status from the PI. So those things are done. I do need to write some unit tests. So not totally done. So if we create a definition of done going forward, then realistically to do that, I do need to go in here and update the relevant tests for planning items, not projects. Wasted 5 minutes on that one to show, that I'm capturing that data, that I'm validating that it's not, if the status changes, that I'm actually determining it's a change, etc., etc. So yeah. So don't forget, all things going well. Really? Why do I have to wait another? That was ages ago. Huh. Well, we are going to raid Andreas today. I'll be back tomorrow. Again, 27th September, Friday, 2 weeks. We're going to do a community stream to commemorate 25 years as a software developer. Check out one line stream later on. And yeah, we're going to go raid Andreas. So thank you very much for your time. Thank you very much for the conversation. As always, take care. Have a great rest of your day. And I'll see you soon. And hello, Loki. Hello. Okay. Bye all.